And just to give my contribution, I was supposed to pick up from where Nelson had highlighted a few issues concerning the Jkia takeover case. I wouldn't want to belabor myself and go over the issues that he had already mentioned. But what people need to understand is that whereas we're being told that there's a company from India that has been contracted to upgrade and develop our national airport, what is really happening is a complete takeover. And I will summarize it very briefly so that everybody understands. What is happening right now is that a PIP model of renovating and developing the airport has been submitted and has been approved. Now, the reason why we have a PIP model on major projects that involve governments is because there is always that special need to exploit or to explore that option, because direct competitive bidding does not offer the options. That means you explore this option in a case of a uniqueness that is contained in. Now, the reason why I call it a takeover and not a leasing per se, as it has been painted, is because the funding of this project is going to cost about, when the proposal was put forth, they said that it's going to cost about $2.047 billion. But after the evaluation committee, they reviewed that amount to $2.05 billion, which means they increased the amount. But let me even shock you. Whereas they say that this is a public-private initiative, the whole project is being funded from the current revenue that is being earned by Jkia up to a tune of 53%. Now, they say that they are going to run the project for 30 years, after which they are supposed to hand over. You see, the model they're trying to paint is like that one that we've seen working with the expressway, whereby a private investor comes in, does an infrastructure or a project, manages it, recovers their initial capital, then hands over the project to the government. But what is happening here? This company is not putting even a single shilling into this company. And this is how they are doing it. 53% is being funded by the current revenue earned by Jkia. Then 33% is going to be funded by a loan which they want to take using the title deed of the land that is owned by Jkia. And then they are telling us that 14% is going to be funded by an investor. And we all know, I'm sure you can all understand that if someone in the Kenyan context talks of an investor, we know what that means. But more shocking is this. At the end of the process of the 30 years, when they have recovered their 2 billion, which they have allegedly invested at this point, they are supposed to be paid again 2 billion at the end of the 30 years. So which means they allegedly put in 2 billion, which in the real sense they never put it. And at the end of it, they're going to recover $2 billion US dollars in a span of 30 years. Then at the end of the 30 years, they will demand again to be paid 2 billion. So that's 4 billion US dollars. Then they will own a lifetime stake of 21%. So clearly you can see this is someone that is domiciled in this country, trying to secure their financial freedom for their children and perhaps the fourth generations to come. So it is a very serious issue that everybody needs to keep on looking at it. We are compiling the petition, and by next week we should have filed the petition, and we'll keep on sharing and updating Kenyans the status of the petition. Obviously, by the look of the materials that have been placed before me, it is highly likely that the court is going to stop the whole process so that a complete audit can be done and Kenyans can understand. And so Kenyans, this is just but one of the issues that is happening in one of the parastatos. So as a way forward, we also need to start demanding for a cleanup of most of the state corporations in this country. And that's where actually the problem is, because government offers services to Kenyans through state corporations. Recently, I saw the cabinet secretaries being fired and then being rehired again. What we need to understand is that based on our constitution, most of these cabinet ministers, cabinet secretaries, much as they have a lot of power, as it can be seen from where we sit, the chief accounting officers of most ministries are permanent secretary, principal secretaries. Those are the people who control the budgets. Those are the people who run the ministries. So if you see a ministry failing or succeeding, it's because the principal secretary is either doing a good job or they're doing a bad job. So as Kenyans, we need to demand during this moment, much as we have long-term goals, we also need to ensure that we inject instant action that will deliver results for purposes of revamping public service. We need to demand that principal secretaries, they must be dismissed because they have failed the government. They have failed this presidency. We need to demand an overhaul of parastatal heads and chiefs, board members of parastatos, CEOs of parastatos, chairmen of parastatos. All these people belong to a group that is already rotten. And if we are doing a reset, we are resetting this country. These are the people that are supposed to go. Now, the other thing that I talked about, but I want to talk about it more today, we need to de-incentivize public service. We need to decommercialize public service. This is what I mean by that. Every public servant, and this is something that we want to start demanding, and I need every Kenyan to understand. We need to ensure that if you are drawing salaries from any public coffers, you need to be put on a payroll. Whether you are an MP, whether you are a CS, whether you are a principal secretary, we need to demand that everybody be put on a payroll, on a job group. The job group will decide the amount of salary you draw. So you can be a CS, but you don't have a degree, you don't have a master's degree, you only have a class 8 certificate. You are paid a salary based on your academic qualifications. That is it. That is how we will start de-incentivizing public service, and we will end up with people who are dedicated and people who want to serve. Now, the other thing, someone may ask me, if you are saying that people should be put in job groups and their credentials should determine how much they earn, don't you think these people are going to buy degrees and they are going to use it? Now, I was thinking about it, and based on my logic reasoning, we have some rules in the disciplined forces. In disciplined forces, the military, the police, if you are above the age of 30 years, you cannot join the disciplined forces. So similarly, we need to ensure that we scrutinize the degrees and certificates that people bring for purposes of looking for opportunities. We should make it as a rule that if you are above, if you have a degree that you have acquired above the age of 30 years, that degree should be declared just a honorary degree. It should not be used to assist you to get an opportunity in government. Because chances are, these people who get degrees above the age of 30 years, they have gone around, they have engaged in corruptions, they have managed to buy their way out in schools, and they have bought degrees. So if you get a degree above the age of 30 years, that degree should just be a honorary. So that degrees that can only be used to secure good opportunities and job opportunities are those ones that are acquired below the age of 30. And for sure, automatically, the corrupt people, the people who have been interfering with systems, are going to be eliminated. We will end up creating a lot of opportunities. And by doing that, only people that are dedicated to serve Kenyans will be finding themselves in these spaces. People who think public service is a space to enrich themselves will not have it anymore. So as I finish and as I conclude, what is the way forward? I have heard people saying that in the event the presidency is forced to resign, that means the president and the deputy president, we will run into anarchy. No, we will not run into anarchy because we have a constitution, and the constitution provides very clearly that in the absence of a president and the deputy president, then the speaker takes over for 6 months, for 60 days, that is 2 months, then an election has to be held. Now, others are saying that how are we going to have elections without the IBC chairman? That is wrong. We can still have elections. What we need is goodwill. Even in the absence of the commissioners, elections can still be had. Previously, we have had commissioners in offices, but we've seen the bungle elections. So the mere fact that we have commissioners in the office does not guarantee that we are going to have a free and fair election. Elections can be had if we have good people in offices that have goodwill, that have got intent to deliver good results and transition for Kenyans. So we must start demanding these things, and we must have a strategy on the way forward.